got Tony Khan and the new AEW World Champion, Bryan Danielson.
Chair, do you want to sit on Daddy's lap?
Bryan, first of all, a huge congratulations. What an amazing moment to be able to have your family there at ringside, to have Birdie, Buddy, Bree, and to see all that hard work pay off. We were all obviously hoping that this is what the outcome was going to be. Dare I ask how you're feeling right now?
I feel pretty great. People ask me all the time what my favorite moment is in wrestling. And I can never give them one answer because I've loved all of it. But this is the first time she remembers seeing me wrestle live. This is the first time my son's ever seen me wrestle live. And without a doubt, that was my favorite moment in my entire career.
I will look forward to you guys to ask some questions to Bryan.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Perfect. So, I'm Jorge Severa from Lucha Libre. Bryan, congratulations. First of all, it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. And I came all the way from Mexico to see this match. And I want to ask you right now that you are the champ, it's possible to saw you again over there in Mexico now as a champ. And Tony, I've been in Mexico with the big champ, Bryan Danielson, and you already have the dream match, the one with Blue Panther. But right now, you are the champion.
So I honestly haven't thought about my future at all past tonight. So I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I'll be there in Champaign, Illinois on Wednesday, and between now and then we'll figure it out. And I'm sure I'll have an announcement then.
Hi Bryan, thank you very much for everything. Mark O'Brien from Boxon.net. I'm just wondering, just off that question, you've now surpassed Swerve. You've talked previously about possibly finishing up at Wrestle Dream in Tacoma, Washington. Do you have any potential opponents in mind for that should you make it that far?
I honestly, like I said, this was my sole focus, is tonight, and I was really happy with how things turned out, and then everything going forward, I'm gonna have to think about. Because, sweet girl, did you want Daddy to come home after this? Yeah. So, how can I?
Over here next.
So Jamal Nias here for Seconds Out. Bryan, I just want to know your thoughts on Swerve as an opponent. You know, this time last year, he was lower on the card. Now, him walking as world champion, giving you one of the greatest matches of your career, where does he rank in terms of the best opponents you've faced in your career?
So I don't like to rank opponents as far as like, oh, this person's better than this person, or this person's better than this person. Swerve is incredible. Like, every step of the way. I think in terms of the build for this match, Swerve carried the load, and he did an incredible job, and he's been an incredible world champion. And I can't speak highly enough about who he is as a wrestler, as an interviewer, and or as how he is like when he does interviews and all that kind of stuff. How he is with the press, he's just so good, and just overall, what a wonderful human being.
From Headlock. You stressed that you haven't thought about your future, but you rooted for Zack Sabre to actually win the G1, which he did, and he will now challenge Naito in October, and we still got that one rubber match coming. So we have the big show in January. So could we possibly see Zack Sabre versus Bryan Danielson, champion versus champion, in January in Japan?
So nothing is impossible. One, I also this year. I mean, what a year! it just doesn't seem real. I got to wrestle Okada in the Tokyo Dome this year. I got to wrestle Blue Panther in Arena, Mexico. I'd love to wrestle in the Tokyo Dome again, and I would have no better opponent. I couldn't choose a different opponent. I'd rather wrestle in the Tokyo Dome than Zack Sabre Jr. Even though I lost, the match that I had with him in Osaka this year is actually one of my artistically favorite matches that I've ever had, as far as just, there's the flow state, right? When you're not thinking, you're just doing, you're just acting. It felt like this tandem flow state because I can't grapple like that with anybody else except him. And the things that were happening in that match, just like, when I got to the back, even though I'd lost, I was like, I had so much fun. And it just gives me chills. So I would love to do it again.
Over here next.
Emily May with Wrestling News Co. Congratulations. So you are now world champion, and you have always been a leader across the industry. And so how will you lead as champion into this new chapter for you?
Gosh, I haven't really thought about it. I've tried to be, in my entire time in AEW, I've tried to be a leader backstage. And so I'll just keep continuing to do that, the stuff as far as wins and losses out there, I always go out there and I give everything I've got, and I think that's, but that, I don't need to lead anybody here to do that. I think if you watched tonight's show, you saw a whole roster of people go out there and give it everything that they have. I wasn't able to watch all of the show, but everything that I saw, I don't know, it felt like a fantastic wrestling show, and maybe one of the best shows of all time. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. I don't know for sure, but from what I saw, it sure seemed like it. So it doesn't, like, as far as in the ring, we have plenty of leaders in the ring, and if you wanna come to AEW and you really wanna stand out, like Ricochet wants to come here, he wants to stand out, right? It's a high bar. It's a high bar. So you gotta step your game up.
Hi Bryan, Steve Herman from the BBC. I spoke to you this time last week about your early days at Butlins in Bognor Regis in front of 45 people.
How far am I from Bognor right now? Is there any chance I could take a train to? I bet there's a show in the Skyline tomorrow night in Bognor Regis. I'm sure I could get booked.
I'm sure they'll book you definitely. Just wondered, going from that and those memories did you give yourself any moment tonight to soak in what was going on around you, the tens of thousands of people chanting for you, and the moment of winning? Did you give yourself a moment to soak it in?
Yeah. So that's one of the things I've actually become really good at, and one of the things that my forced retirement, there's positives and negatives to everything, right? One of the real positives of my forced retirement before is that since I've come back, I feel like I've been able to not just enjoy all these moments, but really like savor them. Like when I go out there, I feel them, and I can lock it in. And even just talking about it with you right now, I'm getting goosebumps. And it's and one of the joys I think of this specific night is, I almost don't want it to end because of this, right? Like, I looked over multiple times during the match and looked at her, looked at my son, looked at my wife, and almost started crying. There was one point when there was a lot of ketchup, that I saw her kind of crying in the second row. They were in the front row, and she moved back to the second row, and she was crying. Meanwhile, our son was laughing. And I was just saying thank you to whatever's out there in the universe that's gifted me this life, because it just seems like magic, right? So yeah, beautiful.
Guys, we'll take 2 more questions and we'll let Bryan go back to celebrate with his family.
Keith Elliott Greenberg with Inside the Ropes magazine. In keeping with the theme of your early days in the industry, did you ever imagine when you chose the theme music, Final Countdown, how poignant those words would be in the Bryan Danielson championship match?
No. Honestly, I chose it as a joke. I was going to Japan a lot, and I would pick up music magazines at the airport, and they used to have all these lists of best songs or whatever. Well, they had the 100 worst songs of all time. I think number 1 was Final Countdown, and I was going through them and I hate to say this, illegally downloading them on Napster. And then
We all did it.
and just like, oh, I love this song. I haven't heard this song in years, or whatever it is. And then yeah, Final Countdown was. If it wasn't number 1, it was top 10. And I was like, oh, this would be awesome entrance music. And I never once. I do a lot of things to entertain myself. I never once thought it would catch on in Ring of Honor, let alone that 20 years later I would be doing it in front of 50,000+ people. So yeah, and with a whole 50,000 people singing along to the Final Countdown. I don't know if anybody's shown this to Europe. If you could, maybe they might bring down the price. It might get us a couple more buys.
Hopefully they'll give me a break, but we've locked in a great deal with Europe, and looking forward to more Final Countdown plays, I hope, but that is yet to be seen. But it's been a very, very fortunate thing that they've been willing to work with us, because I think it's added, Keith, to your point and to what Bryan said so much to the presentation. It's one of the most iconic wrestling themes of all time, and one of my favorite moments ever in the business.
Okay, last one over here.
Michael Martinez from Lucha Brand. What it means to be able to reach a point in your career when you can retire knowing that did everything you wanted to do without limitations?
Yeah, I mean, it means it's such a difference between being forced to retire and choosing to retire. One of the things that was that is really cool about this moment. So my daughter and I were just out there in the hallway, and she goes, "Daddy, you're the best wrestler in the world." And I said, "Sweet girl, that's not entirely true. There's lots of great wrestlers." And she goes, "No, you're the best." And the idea, and I asked her, I said, "Well, then why is Daddy stopping wrestling?" And she said, "Because you love me." And I want my kids to know that I could keep doing this for a much longer period of time at a very high level. But now it's time for me to go home and be with them. Like that's sweet girl, I love you, and buddy. Including wrestling in front of 50,000 people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it. Does anybody? I'm going to open up one more question. If anybody has a question for Birdie. Thank you.
This guy. Bryan, Dave. Birdie, I was actually thinking that I would ask you this question. How did you like the trip to London? And it's a trick question now. How would you like a trip to Australia?
Oh, she's a little shy. She said, "Can you speak louder into the microphone?"
Or Tokyo?
She gently said to me, "I would like to." So, sweet girl, can you tell him what your favorite part about this trip to London has been so far? Or are you just shy?
You did a great job today.
You did so
You did a
good.
great job.
It's great to see you. Thank you all for participating in this moment, and thank you guys for covering AEW, and I really appreciate it. And And yeah, so Tony had to drag me kicking and screaming to this moment.
Thank you, Bryan.
Yeah.